Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Security Expo podcast. This is your host, John Bigelow of Security Solutions Media. I am here with Wong, Regional Sales Director for Oceania at Axis Communications. King.
Thank
welcome.
you, John. Always a pleasure to come over.
So today we're talking a little bit about evolving challenges and trends in the security industry and where we see security technology going in the near future. And to me, this is an interesting discussion because I've said this many times on a multitude of podcasts that we've done. Had you or I been asked a question 5 years ago, what do you think the security industry will look like in the next 5 years? We could have given a pretty educated prediction. We're now into the realm of somewhat uneducated guessing, because things are changing so quickly. So I guess my first question is, what are the most significant challenges the security industry is currently facing? And how do you see technology evolving to address those challenges, particularly in the context of digital transformation and the shift to cloud or hybrid cloud?
Yep. That's a lot of questions.
It is. Let's start with the first part. How do you see, what do you think are the significant challenges in the security industry at the moment?
Okay. I think I will start with people first. I think that's the most important part today in terms of the security industry. I think our biggest challenges for security industry is the resources that we don't have, basically, especially in the security industry today. I mean, the partners that we speak to today, and everyone is shouting and literally shouting and say, I need more techs. There's not enough techs in the industries today. So the question is asked to everyone is, how can we increase the number of technical people in the industry? How can we sustain and retain this industry if you don't have enough resources or labor resources in this industry?
Well, I'm going to jump in there for a second because I have a question for you about this. Do you think it's that we need more techs, or is there a meeting point somewhere in the middle where the manufacturers and the vendors have a responsibility to make the technology a little bit smarter and easier so that we can alleviate some of that burden? And we see examples of this where things come out pre-configured, or, the software is designed to make the job a lot faster when setting stuff up. So what about that sort of thing?
Yep. I mean, Axis has always been doing that as well. We have been doing this thing called ADMX, or Axis Device Managers. So we actually allow customers actually able to manage themselves, especially end customers able to manage their own cameras, and they know what cameras they have, upgrades their firmwares, what software they have. And we actually move all this into cloud as well. So now we have a cloud connect system that enables end customers to do that. So we are actually elevating all these technology into our end customers as well as to our partners. So I'm making it very easy for our customers to get installed. The main reason why I'm saying that there's a requirements of more people is, unfortunately, the requirements of security is very high.
Yeah.
Because of things has changed so much, basically. So the requirements increase, therefore you need more people actually to do install. There is no way anyone can create something that you don't have to install. You don't need human to install.
Well, that's right. I mean, you can't pull your own cables through walls or, configure cameras or whatever it may be.
Correct. So configuration cameras, which is one of the cool things that we can do, and we can do that through ADMX as well today.
Okay. So techs are one of the big challenges, but I guess one of the other ones that we're starting to see emerge is all the discussion around AI. And to be honest with you, I don't think anyone truly knows where it's going. We've got some people at the highest levels in places like Google and Microsoft talking about where they think it's going. But had we spoken about the development of large language models like ChatGPT 2 years ago, prior to the release of GPT-4, no one expected the explosive growth that we got. So, I mean, from your perspective, I know you released Cloud Connect earlier this year, which is sort of partly your AI-based model and some other bits and pieces going on. Do you have any insight into where you think this is all heading?
Yes, you're very right, actually. Before ChatGPT, nobody heard of, people hear about AI, but it wasn't a boom. But today, it's everywhere. It's everyone's branding, everyone's requirements in there. It must have an AI built in place. And I guess sorry, let me repeat. I guess the best thing, the thing that changes mainly is because the ChatGPT has actually allows end customers to see how easy is it to use, basically. And it's mainly text-based today. If you look at all the ChatGPT, it's mainly text-based. But when it comes to video, it's a different world. It's totally a different world. It's basically asking a camera or a systems to check, tell me this scene, what can you tell me about it? What is this all about it? So from our technology point of view, from Max's point of view, basically, we want to understand the scene. So that we can pick every single metadata. This guy is wearing a blue shirt, green pants, white shoes. How can we provide all this information back to a central systems where we can actually start to query? I need to look for Wai King, for example. Where has he been and things like that. So you can actually start to do that all the way into the cloud base. So I guess that's where AI comes in, because once you can convert your image into text, that's where you can start to query all this information back to your customers.
But it seems to me it goes a lot deeper than that, because that's great from the point of view of being able to pull out really interesting and useful analytics and metadata that we can actually do something with. But for a long time, back in the birth of video analytics, we heard people talking about, in the future with video analytics, we'll be able to do all sorts of interesting things like predictive analysis on aberrant behavior and all that sort of stuff, which really, back in the old video analytics models of, this pixel's black, that pixel's white, now it's changed to white, so obviously something in that scene has changed. That was kind of pie in the sky.
Yes.
Whereas now with genuine machine learning and artificial intelligence or AI algorithms as we're seeing them, we are entering into an age where we can genuinely use it for things like if I've got an Access camera staring at a crowd, and let's say it's out the front of the MCG in Melbourne, over a period of time, and correct me if I'm wrong, the AI within the system will start to learn what's normal. What does a normal crowd look like? What does normal crowd behavior look like? And then from there be able to extrapolate what does abnormal crowd behavior look like, and start providing proactive information to operators, security firms. Is this the direction that we're heading?
Yes, more or less, basically, in terms of understanding the existing data that you have. So what is normal? Like you say, what's normal, what's abnormal, basically. So, but I think there's a lot more we can do with AI. I mean, one of the few things we can do, I can give you an example, is what if a camera can tell when I point a finger to a light and I want to tell the light to change to yellow?
Yeah.
Think of that.
Okay.
How easy is if I can just point to say, I want this light to be now yellow. When I point a yellow and I point it to the light.
Yeah.
And the system picks it up and changes it to it. If you can do that, that's one step further than just trying to understand the scene and everything, but it's trying to automate the whole entire scenarios, automate the whole entire scene, basically.
Yeah. But it seems to me there's also a deeper side to this that we don't see on the visual side. So we're talking about the visual analytics that goes on, but in a fully integrated and somewhat more advanced security system like we're seeing now, we're also talking about cybersecurity, and we should be able to, I expect, have levels of AI within our security system that says, hey, Viking, I'm just letting you know, for some reason, your video server is talking to the air conditioning server, which is talking to an unknown IP address somewhere in Russia.
Yep.
Like, that needs to be, someone needs to look at that. And that's the AI monitoring all of this and telling you that that's going on. Is that a realistic sort of scenario in your mind?
I think that's the future, that's a really need today, because especially when all devices are going to be connected one day, or actually already be connected today. The question is, how do we manage every single devices out there? That's why we created the Cloud Connect in there, which has a lot of cybersecurity functionalities built into it as well. So we created that so that it's harder for any hackers to get into it, to the system. And this also comes back to our chipset as well, how it integrates into our Cloud Connect system as well.
Yeah.
So with all this functionality, you can safely say it's quite secure in terms of how we can actually secure the whole entire environment today. Yes, you're right. When there's so many devices, how do you know which IP address you're pinging into this? The big question is, how can we actually secure our parameters across, and ensuring that we have the right cybersecurity framework in place as well in every organization.
Yeah, because right now in most organizations, we have a platform of zero trust, which is we trust nothing on the network outside that which we know to be secure. But if we can truly get the AI thing working properly, surely we would move to a model of 100% trust. In other words, you can add whatever you want to the network until such time as it proves that it can't be trusted because we're monitoring it all.
Yep. I mean, that will be the clear future. I mean, many years ago, we don't trust the Wi-Fi network as well. Everyone said, I'm not going on the public Wi-Fi. You know, what's all this about? But now people start to trust. It's all about getting used to it and how the technologies evolve itself as well. So it goes back to the security industry as well. How can we get the security industry to be involved with a lot more on the cybersecurity side? How can we educate this industry to understand better about all these different devices and all different cyber secure requirements in the market basically today?
Yeah. So I guess that brings us to the next point, which is interesting because it seems that, and I can only phrase this a particular way, people may take it out of context, but security is becoming about a lot more than just security. It's not necessarily the case that, you know, security as we knew it in the 1990s and the early 2000s, it was about guns, guards, gates, doors, locks, and all the rest of it. Security has evolved. How are you seeing the security role evolve?
Definitely. The security, I mean, I've been here for 20 over years. I mean, at the beginning of all securities, everyone talks about guards, everything about guards. And which is also today, that's one of the biggest issues that we have in the security industry, that the younger generation still thinks that security is all about guards. But it's more than that today. Today is about electronic security. How can we actually create AIs, generative AIs and everything, all these new technologies actually into security, because it's actually part of the whole entire systems. The difference is we are more on the physical side, on the physical security. So I think the future or the way we look at it is we need to get the new generation to understand that the security is no longer just guards. It's no longer just perimeter defending and things like that. It's more of how we can actually become more efficient.
Yeah.
How can end customers become much more efficient in terms of how can I place my products in this way so that customers can see it, or whichever way we can do. It's basically all about efficiency in future. And that's where AI comes in. And that's where cybersecurity comes in. That's where a lot of other components start to come in to play in the whole entire security industries.
Yeah, and it seems to me that with a lot of the new technology that's coming into the security space, security has moved out of simply, you know, having multiple layers of defense and locking things down to now we're into building automation and environmental systems management, and even things like helping marketing and operations better understand how they can drive the business to get better financial outcomes through things like heat mapping, people counting, demographics, traffic flow, all sorts of things. So security to me seems like it's evolving more into, I don't know, it's almost like a risk management, people and culture and environmental facilities management role.
Yep. That's true. I mean, security used to be a very small part of the whole entire organization requirements. But today, if they're actually able to utilize whatever they have today and start to increase into their operations, into their marketing segments, they're actually able to enable them to use actually a far more required usage of the security systems in there.
Yeah, and that also expands out to things like AV systems through things like life safety, doesn't it? Because, you know, traditionally you would have your AV systems over to one silo, you would have your security systems in a different silo, and, you know, if you needed to control announcements or fire alerts or whatever it may be, that would be a separate role. But now that's all sort of, with the advent of IP networks and digital security and everything, that's coming together.
Yes, definitely. If you really wind back many years ago on the CCTV world, everything, it was all silos. It's all individual, all running on coaxial. Now you look at the audio side as well, it is the same. It's all figure eight speakers and amplifiers and things like that. And as you said, now we are moving towards the IP technologies. When you move speakers into IP speakers, how can you integrate all this into one system? How can we utilize both systems in there? For example, if it's during Christmas, I have multiple shopping centers. How can I run different songs, different stuff, campaign in different location in there? I can do that everywhere centrally from one location and send it off to everywhere.
Yeah. And whilst it's not necessarily new, I mean, we're seeing more and more rollouts in the areas of things like two-way communications through CCTV now, where if we extend out your example of the shopping centre and it's after hours and we see a bunch of youths mucking around out in front of the shopping centre doing the wrong thing, we can communicate through the CCTV and go, hey guys, you're on camera, you're being seen, you're being recorded, you need to move on. Is that the case?
Yes, that's one of the biggest case that we can use today, especially for IP audios and IP CCTV today.
Yeah, because that remote monitoring thing, it seems to me that coming out of COVID, we're finding it harder and harder, and this is traditionally industry-wide, to try and fill those physical security roles, because the unfortunate reality of the industry is during COVID, a lot of the people who worked in physical security couldn't, because a lot of the frontline roles were shut down.
Mm-hmm.
And they've discovered that they can make far more money holding up traffic signs, working for traffic management and construction companies, and they're not coming back to the industry in the way they might have hoped. So we're having to find smarter, more technically advanced solutions to fill those gaps. And the visual and the audio mixing is part of that recipe.
That's true. I mean, that's where technology comes in. That's where Access comes in as well, in terms of providing the whole full suite of IP audio system that integrates into their VMS, integrated to their building management system. So everything is all interconnected. Especially when you have a very smart cameras, you can detect people loitering for last 5 minutes, and then you can do an automated triggers as well. So these are the few cool things you can do, and then it triggers to your guard, who is all centrally located, and say, mate, there's someone there. Send the announcement in there and tell them in 5 minutes, if you're still here, we'll send the guards over.
Yeah. And even expanding beyond that, I mean, right now, traditionally, we've been relying on control room operators to be notified that there's something going on. And then, in the example of talking over CCTV cameras, talking to the people on site and telling them that they're not doing the right thing. But if we include what we just discussed about AI in the AV and CCTV space, to me, and I'm interested in your thoughts, I'll shut up in a minute and let you talk. It's not inconceivable that we have AI bots that, most bots now in the AI space have beat the Turing test, which for those people who aren't sure, what that means is that we have an artificial intelligence that is able to convince a person sight unseen that they're talking to another human. So if you have an AI bot in a security space that's monitoring the CCTV cameras and then can use a female voice, because we know that young males respond better to females because they're worried about their mother telling them off or their grandmother or whatever, the AI can actually intervene, and start talking to the people on site.
That's true. That's true. I mean, it's more of AI what comes in how can we change all the process into automated process, basically. So AI becomes very useful in that. But you still need humans intervention at a certain stage. We can create as much AI information or whatever intelligence into a systems, into a machine that does normality in terms of normality of things happening, and you can actually send, like you said, a voice of a lady who to tell them stay away, get away, or whatever in there. But when it comes to a situation where it's abnormal, that's where human comes in as well. So I think this will take some time to pick up. I think that I've seen some companies start developing such solutions, especially in customer service in that sense, how they can actually utilize different voice patterns that you have to put you into different customer service requirements. Could be a bot, could be a human, could be a third level tech support team as well. So it's moving, it's going that way. The question is, how fast are we doing that? Sometimes at the end of the day, we probably don't even know whether we are talking to a human or talking to a bot in future.
Yeah. And I mean, this is where I see things like, obviously we're never going to, or not for a long time at least, replace the human in the equation. But what we can do is we can rationalize the resources. And rather than needing 5 people, we might need 1. And if we extend that out to a guard turns up to the kids who are mucking around out the front of the shopping centre, and through his body-worn camera, which Axis also do, he's getting a live view of what's going on. It may actually be an AI bot talking in the ear of the guard, giving him instructions, because AI bots don't panic, whereas supervisors can.
That's true. That's true. Basically, we're taking emotion out of the humans, basically, and running it through the intelligence softwares to let them decide or provide answers to the guards in that sense. It's an interesting concept, but I think we're still human. At the end of the day, we still need to understand whether it's that especially when the guards looking at it, is the person afraid or it's other scenarios that the bots can't see or the AI can't see, basically. So I guess that's a bit of differences, I would say. But AI does play a big role from a long-term perspective. Even today, it does play a big role. and in terms of how we can actually speed things up, how we can reduce resources in there as well. So I think it does play a big role, but the question is we still need the people to actually to manage this overall.
So we're coming to the end of our allotted time. Let me finish on this question. What do you see being the important drivers of innovation moving forward in the security industry?
I think today we are seeing a lot more AI companies, a lot more small and medium-sized AI companies or developers companies start to build different solutions, different requirements in the market. It's similar to many years ago where we have a lot of VMS in the market, right? When everyone start to build their own VMS, how to integrate into that. Where I see it mainly is I think there will be more of this AI, and we reach to a stage that we will probably reach to a stage whereby there will be consolidation of AI in terms of what are solutions that we really need and how does it go to the market basically. So I think AI will continue to build because it gets easier to build today. And I think the requirements and especially the expectation from people is getting higher and higher every day. So I think that will speed things up in terms of AI technology. But we always have to remember cyber is a big thing that we have to always be aware of. Cloud is the next big thing that we should look at because the more AI you have, you need cloud. You need the processing powers. That's why NVIDIA and the companies are building so much of this processing powers, the GPUs for us to actually to work on our AI technology. So I think the future it's quite fast. I think it's growing very fast, especially after ChatGPT. And I think there'll be more AI companies coming up. And the question is how much can we consume and how much can we actually utilize most of them.
Fantastic. If people want to know more about Axis Communications or yourself, where do they go?
They go to axis.com or come to the Integrate stands or Integrate shows. We are actually here, right here.
Fantastic. Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for your time, and we look forward to seeing you at either the Security or the Integrate Expo, both co-located at the ICC down in Sydney at Darling Harbour. Thanks, Viking.
Thank you, John. Always a pleasure. Thanks.